Hi, I'm Alex. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a borderline personality disorder subtypes. There's 4 different types, but I'm sure if you are BPD, if you have it, I mean, if it's a part of you, if you are, you will relate to more than one type, maybe 2, at least. I do have some notes here, so hopefully I don't get too much off topic. I do have notes. And we also have coffee joining us because it's really early right now. Just did a video on why you don't have to forgive people if you don't want them in your life. Alright, let's get into the 4 subtypes. This comes from a psychologist. So yeah. Number 1. First subtype is called the quiet borderline personality. It's the quiet type because they are internalizing most of their tantrums. That's what we usually see it as a tantrum. When somebody with BPD doesn't get their way, feels abandoned, something doesn't go as it was planned to go, they will usually, we will usually be triggered, which will cause us to cry, scream, throw a tantrum basically. But this person doesn't do that. They internalize it, and this could manifest in different types of ways, like depression. They don't handle stress well, obviously, like everybody with BPD doesn't handle stress well at all. They will also trigger warning, they will also self-harm. Okay, this could be by cutting, which I did in high school. I don't do that anymore. Suicidal thoughts, suicidal tendencies. All of the types will have this. All the BPD types have this, which is why it's important to learn about this condition, disorder. And if you cannot afford a therapist, a psychologist, you can do work on yourself. Okay, you are self-aware and you can be honest with yourself. And there's also workbooks. I'll go into more at the end of the video what you can do to what do you say, like soothe this condition. You can soothe it, work on it, better it. Alright, so that's number 1. They're also known to be high functioning. I don't want to forget this point. They are high functioning at work. They can keep a job. They will be more introverted. Doesn't mean they're going to be shy, but they're not going to share that much about their life with you, because someone with BPD doesn't really want to share with people they're not close to, because if they do, the closer you get to somebody with borderline personality disorder, the more likely that they're going to pop off. They're going to feel comfortable with you, and they're going to show their emotions, and it's going to be out of control, and they don't want you to see that, especially at work. So the quiet BPD internalizes most of their tantrums and fears of abandonment. Okay. Number 2. Number 1 and number 2 are the ones that I relate to the most. Okay. Number 2 is called the this word is weird. Petulant, or histrionic. It's because it's seen as a more feminine, self seeking, like attention type of BPD. And this one will have hints of narcissism, like 20%. You will notice this in that they are more entitled than the first type, which is not. They're more like of a depressive type. This one also is more dramatic. Can relate to that for sure. This one will pop off on your boyfriend, your parents, your siblings, anybody pretty much who's really close to them. They're likely to go off. Like, these people will see a meltdown from the BPD with the petulant type, because this one is more extroverted. They still suffer from all the same fears of abandonment, which is going to be triggered by changes of date. If somebody cancels on them, they're going to be triggered by that. Okay, number 3 is the angry externalizing impulsive borderline personality. This is the one that has 50%, 50% at least narcissism. And these will rage more, which is a narc trait, meaning they're more likely to attack people verbally. They are triggered by abandonment, like all of them are, or disappointment or distress. Nobody with BPD handles stress well. We just don't. It's like the child in you. A child wouldn't handle stress well, would they? Well, BPD is kind of like that, like a child in a human body and like an adult body. And sometimes they can handle regular day-to-day life, but if anything goes off, they will probably have a meltdown. This third type is also more likely to blame others around them, which is a narc trait. Impulsive and dangerous habits can be formed with sex, alcohol, overspending. This could look like mania. They're out of control. They can feel like this need to do this sexual activity, like one-night stands, drink too much alcohol, overspending. It will be like something that's kind of out of their control because they're having a manic episode, kind of. I think the second one also has this to an extent. The dangerous, like looking for things to do, I guess. Because these people, we kind of feel empty inside. So a lot of the times we will look for something to bring us, to stimulate us more, because we feel empty. People, this could be people, things. Alright, the fourth type is the depressive internalizing self type. This one is the most likely to need the help because they are not able to keep jobs. They may not be able to function in everyday life. It could be really difficult because this type is more depressive, but it still stems from the abandonment issues that all BPDs have. It's like a wounded child that borderline personality deals with. So you will see a lot of that tantrum happening. My camera's gonna die. But yeah, the doctor said that BPD is diagnosed in about 7% of the population, but that's not an accurate number because a lot of the time it's misdiagnosed with a mood disorder instead, because mood disorders are treatable with pills, and BPD is more of a long-term thing where you have to work on your habits and your mental diet, your thoughts, your personality. I will go more into that in the next video, I think. There's also something that I want to touch on that I have not heard any of the doctors or psychologists talk about. Self-soothing. This is something that I believe most BPD types will have, especially the 1 and 4, number 1 and 4. I relate to number 1 and 2 the most. That's what I show. Yeah, soothing is like playing with your hair, sniffing your hair. Those are things that I used to do. One thing that I still do for self-soothing is sucking on my tongue to get me to sleep. Like I pull it back like that, and then I just suck it like a pacifier. I think I've been doing that since like childhood. But yeah, self-soothing habits will be in these BPDs, all of them. Maybe not all of them. Let me know in the comments if you self-soothe. You know what self-soothing? It's like a child thing, but you don't outgrow it. Okay, that's another sign that you have BPD.
Okay, I hope I didn't forget anything. But I did mention the tantrums, the suicidal tendencies, the negative self-talk, These are all things we have to work on. Empty feeling of emptiness, so trying to fill it with toxic things like drugs, sex, alcohol, people who are not meant to be with you, but you want to love them anyway because you want to be loved so bad. BPD is caused by early childhood instability, and obviously a lot more, like feeling no love from your parents or your guardians, feeling like you don't know who you are, self-soothing tactics, I talked about that with the hair and the tongue thing, attachments to people who trigger childhood issues, yeah, like people who come and go, who are not stable like your parents were, who are not very loving like your parents were. They have a childlike persona mentality when triggered, especially, not all the time, but when triggered, which will be daily. What's important is to find somebody who you feel safe with, who's consistent. Self-love is really important. Changing your thoughts, practice law of attraction, learn about it. It's okay to feel sad sometimes, but don't stay in your sadness, don't stay in your anger. Catch yourself. Mentality is really important with BPD. Also, try to stay in the moment as best as you can. Try not to have